Shh. Okay, we got about 2 minutes. Go ahead and get your cell phones turned off. Go ahead and get seated. What happened to my podium paper? Maybe it should be just a little thing. Let's see if we can get that up there. That's perfect. Thank you.
Number 2, you said it too. Said it also.
All right, well, let me know we're live. Okay. We need to get that on the air light that goes on air, something like that.
Do you need more headspace on it? Or camera one?
That's right. All right. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, welcome to, what month is it? Kislev. It's a very exciting month to be in, the month of Kislev. And so I want to start off today by just welcoming all of you. This is our first time doing Rosh Chodesh in this building. I feel very skewed this way because you guys all chose to sit in the seats and not at the tables. That's okay. All right. So the way this is going to work today, and we're going to be doing this every Rosh Chodesh, so that's great. And by the way, it feels good to be back up here after not being here last Saturday. So the rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. I looked like that a few times, but it's fine. Nothing that a couple of days of fasting. By the way, I'll tell you what, if you've tried everything else, I would go for a full-on fast. And what I mean by full-on fast is I ate nothing. I drank nothing for 3 days. Would have gone longer, but it already was getting the results I needed, and plus I had to time things out for other things that are coming. And so breaking a fast, the longer you go, takes longer to break, because you have to start drinking water, then broth, and other things. So then I did 1 day of just water, so 4 days of fasting, and I feel a lot better. I still have a little bit of a cough, but I'm finding it to be more mechanically triggered by some muscles things that I worked with a massage person who helped me figure that out. So some of that is actually some sort of a physical triggering that's not because of what's going on in my lungs anymore. But anyway, so I do thank you all for your prayers. Appreciate them very much. I did feel them and I did appreciate them. But it is great to have the healing come about so that you can come back and be with everybody and spend time with all you guys. And so anyway, if I seemed less than friendly when you saw me during the week, if you did see me occasionally when I popped my head out of the house, it's only because talking meant coughing. Okay? Now, thankfully, I'm mostly through that, although I expect to cough a little bit tonight during the Rosh Chodesh service. But you go back a few days, I couldn't complete sentences without bad coughing. So anyway, but I got to be here for a praise team rehearsal last night. That was really good, and very excited about that. And so we're here tonight for this. Of course, I didn't get to eat the haystacks, the tacos. Oh, it looks so good. Anyway. But I will be ready to eat Five Guys or something Saturday night, okay? So, although I'm not sure that's a really good idea after all the fasting I just did. And losing about 10 pounds. Okay, so, woohoo. All right, so it's amazing how much weight you can lose in a couple of days if you just don't eat. All right, so the way the Rosh Chodesh service works is that it's a screen-driven service. So for those of you that are on live stream that are watching, we're going to be shifting in a minute or two here to the slideshow, and it'll stay on the slideshow until we finish the service so that you on the live stream can participate and read the slides as we do when we do switch, okay? But we are going to begin with the sounding of the silver trumpet. Now, I know we're supposed to have two. I got to train up a second one because I have to, but maybe I'll just bring up two and do both at the same time. I do have a certain someone with a similar name to mine in mind. As a matter of fact, it's the exact same name as mine. Just a little, I was going to say just a little shorter and smaller, but he's not. He's not taller. So everybody stand up, please, for the sounding of the silver trumpet. Let me get the non-silver trumpet out of the way. Amen. I probably should have practiced. And blowing the trumpet is not the same as blowing the shofar. My lips are like, what is this metal thing you're blowing into? Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to come back out here around with you guys. I'll join you on this side. You thought I was going to pass out? Was it all that fasting? No, I'm fine. All right. So we're going to all read. I know some of them might say leader or this. We'll just kind of pretty much try to read all of them together except one place where I announce officially the new month, okay? So together, Yahweh sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. Also in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. The Kedushat Levinah, sanctification of the new moon. O Yahweh, our Elohim, and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor. A life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin, a life free from shame and reproach, a life of prosperity and honor, a life in which love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us, a life in which our health are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. All right, the new moon of the month of, I thought we fixed this slide. We were together fixing that slide. This is called on-the-fly fixing. Because I know we fixed it. It's the only slide we got to change every month. You had that one job and you dropped it. See what happened? No, actually, we were on the phone together fixing this 2 days ago. I don't know what happened. Because I know we did. That's technology for you. You think you have something fixed and then it's not. Hey! Although I wouldn't mind it almost being Aviv. We could have Passover, right? Okay. The new moon of the month of Kislev is today. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Yisrael. May the set-apart one be, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation, and let us say, Amen. All right, all together. Blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one. Blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens. Yahweh is his name. Rejoice before his face. His name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. And in Isaiah 66, in verses 22 and 23, it says, for as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen. Amen. Again, Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right, you may be seated. All right, so, are you ready for the hour and a half sermon?
Yes!
All right. Are you covenanted part, I don't know, I forgot what part we're up to. 13, 12? All right, no kidding. Okay, so, Money in the Kingdom, part 4. Okay. So what I want to do is just take a minute or two here because someone had asked earlier, so are you going to be teaching or speaking? I said, I don't know. There'll be a microphone in front of me, so I'll probably say something. I think that it's really important that as we go through our time, especially between Sukkot and Passover, that we take each month as a way not only of marking time, but to maintain our excitement, as we saw in the prayers that we had, as we go forward towards Passover. Because there's a very long period of time in there. Now, of course, the Israelites and the Jews over time had added a few things that we can deal with in between. So we have Hanukkah and we have Purim. And those are things that we can certainly do to help enjoy our time. But it's not the same as those Moedim, the ones that are commanded to be celebrated. And so we have this long period of time. See, because you don't have that from Passover, because Passover you have a 50-day count, and then you get to Shavuot. And then from Shavuot, it's not so long to get to trumpets, but you got this really long time from Sukkot until Passover. And so it also happens to coincide in this part of the world with winter. And it gets more dark and more dreary and more cold, and these are all things that could really wear on our attitudes. And so I guess Rosh Chodesh is a time to come to make sure we're keeping our attitude straight. And part of it is in coming together with each other is an opportunity to be thankful, and this is the key, is not just thankful, but from a point of view of appreciation. I think we take easily all the good things in life that we have for granted. And all we tend to focus on is what we don't have. And so let's stop doing that and focus more on what we do have. Let's spend a lot more time and energy saying, Abba, thank you for living in a country where we have indoor plumbing. We take that for granted. Go someplace where they don't, and you'll see real quickly how nice it is to have it. And I'm not picking on those that don't. I'm just saying, but you do. Okay, so appreciate that. You also have, I've been to places where they don't even have air conditioning or heat. Some of the places don't really need it because their temperatures don't get too extreme, but we have all those things. We don't have a problem generally with food running out on the shelves if you want to go buy something. As a matter of fact, in most of the bigger cities, stuff is available 24/7. So if you need something that you didn't happen to have, you can go get it. And now, on top of that, for those of you that are here and those of you that are on the live stream, we have the extra blessing and appreciation to have community forming, to have a family growing, and not to take that for granted. And we can get so wrapped up in all the things that aren't perfect yet that we forget how much we have. And we start whining and complaining and, oh, wait a minute, that sounds very Israelite, doesn't it? See, but along with that then comes stiff-necked and all kinds of ugly curses and things. Okay? And so we don't want to do that. We want to be in emunah. We want to be in that full faith and trust. So I think one of the things that we're going to be doing, and by the way, I'm excited about some of the things I have planned for this building once we get it finished, and I get my health back, and hopefully it'll be finished sometime very quickly after I get my health back. I expect to have that back in a couple of days. But I'm hoping to do some classes on a lot of these things that have to do with us in our dealing with the world as we live in. And one of the things I want to talk about is dealing with anxiety, stress, and worry. Anybody think they might need a little of that? Okay? I was thinking about that a lot today in terms of what I would put together as a class. All right? For all you blues, that's mandatory. Sorry, that's an inside joke. At least all of the Reds have voted that it's mandatory for all you blues. Okay, no. No, I mean, all of us at some point deal with our anxieties and our fears. Some people have more of it, some people have less of it, but we all end up having it at some point. And I think I've got some tools, some thought processes, some protocols and processes that could, help you maybe do better with that. Okay? And eliminate a lot of the stress and fear. Because most of what I deal with in counseling is either one or both people, if I'm doing a couples thing, or an individual just by themselves, they're dealing with a fear problem. They either made a decision they shouldn't because they were afraid, or they jumped and usurped somebody's authority because they were afraid, or they didn't trust somebody to do something because they were afraid, or just keep going on and on. But what if it goes wrong? And what if it goes bad? Or they didn't make a decision because they were afraid? And I don't want us to be spending the next month so afraid. So maybe I'll just talk about that a little bit right now. I want you to understand, let's take a quick poll. Can we all agree that there's many things you've been worried about that didn't happen? Okay. There are statistics for this, but I know the statistics are irrelevant to you when you say, yeah, but that doesn't match my life or whatever. So we'll just ask you for our own statistics. Now, can we all agree that there's a lot of things that did happen and it ended up not being so bad? Okay? Can we also agree that the actual percentage of the things that actually went wrong and actually ended up being really bad was actually really small? But that most of the things that did go, quote unquote, the way you were afraid they were going to go were inconvenient or cost a little bit and minimal suffering, but that you got past it, got over it, and maybe you actually grew and got stronger because of it and actually benefited from it. So the first thing I want you to meditate on the next time you start dealing with anxiety and worry is remind yourself that the odds, the percentages are very small, that whatever you're worrying about is really going to actually be a big problem. Okay? As a matter of fact, let's ask another poll. Do you remember how many times, just getting kind of go back in your head and think, where you were worried about something and exactly what you thought happened, and yet it ended up turning out to be ultimately a good thing? Even though at first you thought it was a bad thing. Doesn't that happen too? So it's the beginning of a month. We as human beings love to use markings of time as opportunities to reset. Right? New Year's resolutions is a big thing, right? Even though that's a secular thing, and come January 1st, people tend to like to make these New Year's resolutions. Why? Because at a point of a marking of time when it feels like a fresh start, we like to make decisions to say, I'm going to do things differently this new period of time. Well, we certainly can do that every week. We can do that every day. We certainly can do it every Rosh Chodesh. And say, this month, I'm going to spend this month not worrying about everything so much, not having anxiety control my life, not letting my emotions drive the car. Don't you think you'd have a much more enjoyable month? Okay? And so I think we should set a goal so that when we come back together for the next Rosh Chodesh, that if I ask you how many of you, and you don't have to raise your hand then, how many of you accomplished a month that was less stressful than the one before, less worrisome, less anxiety, I'd hopefully find a lot of hands because we're making that our goal. That doesn't mean things won't happen that you would be anxious about. It doesn't mean things won't happen that you normally would worry about or panic about. What it means is that you can choose to react differently. Okay? Like maybe call me before you freak out. Some people already do that. And it helps, doesn't it? Okay? So have somebody you can call. It doesn't have to be me. And say, I'm really starting to worry about something. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I need a balanced understanding. But I want you to realize, and the percentages that were done, there's a book out there, I think it's Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, or something like that. And I think the statistics he put in there is that over 90-something% of everything that people worry about either never happens, or if it does happen, it ends up not being a big problem, or sometimes it actually ends up being better. Over 90, like 95%. There's such a small percentage of the things. Some of you are worrying about 100 things now. And you worry every day. This is not good for your health. It's not good for your vertical focus. And what it does is it takes you to that place where your emunah is starting to be affected. Okay? You know, there's a passage in Matthew where it says, why do you worry about what you're going to eat or what your clothing is going to be? That's Matthew 6, I believe, right? Towards the end of the chapter, and he says, the Gentiles do all of that. Let them worry about everything. You have Yahweh. You have Yeshua. Don't you believe? Again, when you worry and you have all this fear and doubt and everything else happening in your life, are you demonstrating at that moment that he's in control? Are you demonstrating in that moment that he has everything under control? Are you demonstrating at that moment that that you accept the fact and the reality that he either caused or allowed what happened to happen? And that all things work to the good, whether you see it or not? See, and that's why we shouldn't be fearful and panicking and anxiety and worried about everything. He says, seek first the kingdom. Now, seek first the kingdom, I think, is a confusing line. He's saying, look, put your focus on what's coming, on what's above, and all the things that the kingdom has to do with. So seeking first the kingdom should be like, wait a minute, what else was the rest of that line? And his righteousness. What is righteousness again? Doing what's right. So if he says it's right to just trust him, then you should just trust him. When you seek first the kingdom, it's talking a lot about seeking first what the kingdom has told you to do. Seek the structure of the kingdom, called leadership. Seek first the kingdom. Don't worry about, well, I don't know, I'm going to pay my bills or feed my children. Seek first the kingdom. There's a structure, there's a process, and you don't have to worry anymore. But I've never been in an environment where that actually works that way. Well, praise Yah, you're in one now. Something else to appreciate. By the way, also be praiseful that that system and the structure that's there isn't going to just coddle you, enable you, or have you feel entitled. So we may be a little tough on you at the same time, but ultimately you'll end up in that place where you won't have to have that fear anymore. And you'll be taking care of your needs. I got a bunch of you here, not a bunch, there's several of you that are online too, that we've helped not only with a need, but help fix the problem so they don't ever have to deal with that need anymore. Because now they're able to provide for themselves in whatever that area was and fix the problem. Seek first the kingdom. The kingdom has laws, processes, people, structure, resources, and his righteousness. What's that? What's Yahweh's righteousness? Do what's right. What does he want you to do? Use the system. And then you might have a lot less stress. Some of you already know that because you've tried it and you've tasted of it. Some of you need to taste of it so you know it's true. And then you'll know. But we're supposed to be walking in faith. Are we actually walking in faith when we panic, worry, stress, and everything else? Well, what if we don't get this house? Well, maybe you get a different one. What if I don't get this job? Well, maybe you'll get a different one. What if I don't? You keep filling them in. What if I lose my job because I stand up for Shabbat? Well, what if he gives you a better one? What are you so afraid of? The Gentiles have every reason to be afraid because there's nothing to lean on but themselves. What do you have to be afraid of? You've got the source of everything working with you, walking in you, working in you. Only though if you show faith. You trust and believe. Look, every person who went up to Yeshua that he healed, what did he say every time when it records what he said? Your faith has made you well. Every single time. That means that if the person didn't have faith, guess what? They didn't get well. When he went to his own town, how many people did he heal? Nobody. Why? Because they weren't able to be healed? Or they had no faith. They had no faith. Even the soldier said, look, you don't even have to go see my person that needs healing. I just know if you say it's done, it'll be done. That's how much faith he had. We are supposed to be the remnant, the chosen, the lame, the weak, the worried, the stressed out, what are we? Are we claiming what we are? We're walking in a different walk? That's called hypocrisy. I'm not just trying to call you out, but I am trying to call you out. Don't be a hypocrite. Deal with your faith problem. Faith problem is not, well, just like I need to not eat pork and show up at services and that kind of thing. Faith means trusting him in everything. Do you not trust him in everything? Well, if you're worried about anything, you're not trusting him in everything. So stop worrying about everything. Because some of you can find something to worry about everything. And so that's what I want us to go forward this month. And I'm going to end it with that, is I want to encourage us all to let the fear, the worry, the anxiety, release all that. There's no demon making it happen. It doesn't need to be from a deliverance ministry. All of you be healed and cast out that worry demon. Shame on you, you worry demon. You get out right now. That's all ridiculous. Just stop. Let it go. Release it. See, look, Christianese, okay, which is why I use that as a term for the Christianity taking a term or a word and making it not even mean anymore what it originally meant. And so you can't even hardly use it anymore. Well, but there's also a Christian thought process, an approach to things in life that you got to let go of. Stop looking to outside sources as the cause of all good and all bad. The outside source is the source of all good. You're probably the cause of most of your bad. Okay? But the Christianity side indoctrinated you and brainwashed you to believe that you're not to blame for anything. The demons, the devils, the this, the that, the devil made me do it. The devil can't make you do anything. Did the devil make Eve, make Chava do anything? No. Did he make any effort to make Yeshua do anything? No, he tempted. He wanted to see if there was any thought in Yeshua of ego or pride or desire to be to lift himself up because he offered him all these things to make him pump, and Yeshua had none of that in him to tempt him. Why did Chava fail? Because she had those failings in her, and all the enemy did is the adversary brought it out. Because she already admitted, well, yeah, I noticed that it looks good, and it's good for this and that, and all, and it tastes probably good, and all. I mean, she already had these thoughts. See, when Yeshua was dealt with in the wilderness, he had never had any of those thoughts. So there was nothing that the enemy could do with him. You've got to stop thinking that worry, anxiety, all these problems and everything else is some sort of cursing or this or that or whatever. Stop that. I want to say something. I know that Rabbi Tom did a great job and he talked about generational curses and said there's no such thing. I'm going to disagree and agree. There is such a thing. It's when you continue to do what you've seen others do. It's not a curse like somebody put it on you. So I agree with him. And that's what he was talking about. He was talking about stop thinking like voodoo, like somebody put a curse on you. But generational curses are real if you imitate the stupidity of the previous generation and continue the cursing that brings. Have you not seen worry destroy families in other generations and people you know? Fear, doubt, panic. I think if you had less, you'd fear more. You'd have less fear and less panic because you'd have less to worry about. You know, most of the people that are extremely poor in countries that have nothing, they're happier than you people. They don't have as much to worry about, nothing for people to steal, nothing. They're just happy to be alive and have food and eat and have a place that's considered shelter, whatever. But we have so much, but I'm not happy if I don't have the right house or the right job or the right car, or there's no Starbucks near where I work, and I got to drive too far to get there. I mean, we get upset about such dumb things. We're supposed to delight. He wants us to be happy. Yeshua said, I came so that your joy would be filled to overflowing. I think a lot of you struggle with joy. Why? Because you struggle with worry, doubt, and fear and anxiety. If you release those, guess what's left? Joy, peace, shalom. The number one thing that Abba wants everywhere is shalom. He wants shalom in the world. He wants shalom in your life. He wants shalom in your house. He wants shalom in your body. You can't have shalom with worry, fear, anxiety, and doubt. It's not possible. So I think we can make it a goal. Here's something I'm going to promise you. You can believe me or not. First of all, I have to ask one more survey question. How many times that you worried about something did it change the outcome? Never. It doesn't change the outcome, right? Worrying about it doesn't change the outcome. Being afraid of it doesn't change the outcome. Panicking doesn't change. It either happens or it doesn't happen. So why don't we just focus on the excitement of knowing that whatever happens, he will provide a way of escape. You know that verse? He'll provide a way for you to grow out of it and learn something and benefit. So why don't you just have confidence that whatever happens, you'll handle it? And say, praise Abba, this thing that I'm going through that looks impossible. I am so excited that you think I'm able to handle this thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. But you think I can handle it. Because if he didn't think you can handle it, you wouldn't be going through it. Can we agree? If you're on live stream wondering why I keep looking this way, it's because that's where everybody's sitting. I got a few of the Gadol over here. Okay, and Rabbi Tom. So I'm trying to balance that. But just remember, so I want you now to, you know what? We're going to spend 30 days allowing things to happen. And that doesn't mean that you don't make any effort to do something about it, but you do it without fear and worry and doubt and panic. We're just going to do what we can, accept that it's enough, and accept that the consequences or whatever the result is that happens will be okay. Even if they're not okay at that moment, that ultimately down the road, it will still be okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Let's try that for 30 days, and I think you might want to renew that every 30 days. Because I think you'll find that the next 30 days will go so much better. That doesn't mean you won't have just as many, if not more, temptations to be worried. Because if you make this goal, guess what? All those temptations are going to pop up, and you'll be like, but I can't do it this month. No, you need to. You need to do it even more. Because his desire is to have a world, a kingdom, that's filled with shalom. That everything is peaceful. No stress, no worry. And you can have that now. And he tells you that in Scripture. Yeshua said it right there at the beginning. He had his big Beatitudes thing, and then he goes right into this later, just the next chapter over, and he says, why do you waste your time worrying? Are you a Gentile? That's what he basically says. Are you of the world? Because they do that. So why do you do that? You know better. You know the source of all things. You know the connection and the access you have to the source of all things. What are you worrying about? We had a bunch of people recently have flus, whooping cough, all kinds of stuff. But I've got all that. It'll go away. I've got cancer. It'll play itself out, and maybe you'll die. Okay, so that happens too. There's a plan. Well, are you going to be afraid of it? Let's put it this way. I can confess. I had just a horrible fear of dying as a kid. I don't know why. When I first learned that people died, I don't know who, my grandmother, somebody had passed away. I was real little. I had this terrible fear that I was going to die. And you know what? I am someday. People die, right? People die. But am I supposed to be afraid of that? Is that going to change the fact that you're going to die someday? Is it going to change the date of when you die? Yes, it might. You may die younger because you worry too much. It's not going to add a day, right? Isn't that what Yeshua said? Who by worrying added anything to his life? But it can take away. It'll shorten your life. It'll ruin your immune system. It won't add any time. So should we go around knowing, you actually were born into death. That's your future. So should you spend every day afraid of it? There's no point to that. What you want to do is spend every day embracing that you have today. And not wasting time today with worry and doubt and fear and all that stuff. Because, you know what? There was another shooting today. A bunch of people, 12 people or more, got shot in California last night, whatever it was. They were at a bar where they were playing country music. It was actually a youth night, so 18 and over was allowed to be in there, not just 21. And a bunch of people got killed. They're not going to get any more days to enjoy and embrace their family, their friends, and their loved ones. Although you had to see the ones that got out hugging each other and realizing that they made it through. If they could only hold on to that thought the rest of their lives, to embrace every moment because you don't know how many you get. A friend of ours, a parent of one of my son's friends, we just found out died in a job accident. We didn't get the details, but we just got a text through like one of those chat groups that the kids have, and then it was posted on Facebook that, you know, he had a tree service. Maybe the tree fell the wrong way or something broken or something, and he got killed. He's not getting any more days. That moment that just passed, that's why I stopped. It's gone. So whatever the most we could have got out of it, it's already gone. How many moments you want to waste? You know, I always wanted to do a sermon called Motivated by Mortality, so maybe this is it. I was going to start it off with, you're all going to die. Doesn't that motivate you? It should. Stop wasting your time on stupid little things and blah, blah. Oh, but you know, he left the toothpaste cap off again or blah, blah. So what? Put it on yourself and go give him a hug and appreciate you have him or her or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? We get so mad and so upset about nothing but stupidity. Guilty. Aren't we all guilty of that? You know why? Because you forget that you're dying. Let me ask you something. If you were in the hospital and you were told, or even at your house, and you knew you had a month to live, would you really care about the toothpaste cap or the whatever dumb thing you normally get upset about? No. Who has time for that? You know you're dying and you know you have a limited amount of time, but you should know you're dying. You are. So why would you waste a single second? Hug each other, love each other, embrace each other, and do for each other, and tolerate. That's the big problem. Tolerate everything you can. That doesn't mean that you want to be an entitler and an enabler and a codependent, but it means not to get upset about it. Be as gently and loving as you can. Say, I'm sorry, but we can't do that. If you have to say no, not to enable somebody or entitle them, whatever. But don't get so angry. Don't get so aggressive. I'm guilty of all these things. So are you. It's a new month. It's a new page. It's a new moment. You wake up in the morning. You should not get out of the bed. We just started this in my house. I told the family everybody needs to wake up in the morning and not get out of bed until they've spent the time thinking about what they appreciate and what you genuinely appreciate. And then you can get out of bed. I'm not talking about just saying, well, I want to praise Yahweh and thank God. No, just you know what? I really appreciate that I'm alive. I woke up. And I appreciate that I have a nice warm bed. And I appreciate that I have a brother or a sister, or if it's a husband, that I have a wife, or a wife that has a husband, or whatever it is, and that you have your children, or that you what do you appreciate? Because if you focus on all that, you won't focus on all the things that you're missing and upset about and whining about. Or you'll have more balance. If you're walking around already excited with how much, I am so spoiled. Can you realize how spoiled you are? Then why can you whine and complain if you realize how spoiled you are? You think you might complain less? Whine less? Argue less? Fight less? Judge less? Attack less? All the other things we do? If you're so filled with appreciation? If you're married, you know what? There's a lot of people that never got married or they never had a good marriage. Appreciate what you got if you have a decent marriage. And then turn a decent marriage into a spectacular marriage. Because the only thing that makes a marriage great or not is the effort you put in. Marriages are not magically the right person and the right person makes it great. Anybody tells you they've never had a fight, never this and never that, they're lying. Or they're not really married. But you can choose to never have a fight and to fix things. That takes an effort. It's not natural. In other words, it doesn't happen by default. Same thing with your children, how you treat them and how you deal with them. Same thing with everybody else, your friends. We can change our approach to all of this. It seems to me if we did that, we'd become more and more like Yeshua. Isn't that the goal? filled with overflowing patience, whose mercy endures forever? Do we show people mercy much? Not enough. So now I want to end this with a positive note. I said, you're going to die. But you know what? If you walk this out right, you're going to live. Okay, that's a good one, right? But I want to make that more clear. I'm not just talking about eternal life. I mean, you're going to live now. Some of you are not living now. You're existing, you're whining, you're complaining, you're frustrated, but you're not living. You know, some people say, well, I work for a living. Okay, so please tell me about the living part that you do. Because most people say, what do you do for a living? No, I have a job, okay? And I do the job. Then my living, what do I do for a living? I spend time with my family. I embrace my kids. I go to Five Guys with my extended family. That's the living part. What's the point of working for a living if you're not living? And so I promise you, if we can start to do this, we'll all start to live now and have the hope and the expectation of the life to come. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, Father, we come before you and we want to fully embrace this message. We want to believe then, Father, that this message is from you. Because after all, it came from the verses that I quoted today. The message about stopping to worry and fully trusting in you for all things. To embrace life, knowing we are mortal. We have a short time on this earth. And we don't know when our day is, that will come to an end. And every one of us knows people that have passed that we never saw it coming. At ages that we just couldn't believe that would happen. And so we don't know. We pray that, Father, we'll all have long and wonderfully enjoyable, blessed lives, giving you glory and honor and being a light to the world. We want to live, but we don't want to worry while we're doing this living, because then we're existing in a state of anxiety. Help us to release all that stuff so we can truly live. And as we live with that stuff released, we can truly praise your holy name. So, Father, we thank you. Asking you to strengthen us and encourage us in this journey. In the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 All right. So that's going to conclude the service. For those of you that are here, actually those of you on live stream too, what we would like you to do is celebrate and enjoy. So if you still have time wherever you live to do so, we're going to shut down the live stream here in a minute, but we encourage you to enjoy it, spend time together. We're going to maybe put some songs on if you want to dance, and we'll spend some time in fellowship and enjoying each other for a little while before we have to shut this down. Can we have people come up here to wave? Is that good? Okay, everybody wants to come up here. And in case anybody's wondering, sick or not, I am packing. Okay. You were curious?
I'm like, I wonder if he's packing today.
Stephen, come here. Come back over here.
There you go. Now you can see.
Have to go in a little bit. Have to come in.
All right, everybody just keep an eye on what Bryson's trying to get you inside the camera here. So you got to
All
pull
right.
in tight.
I think that.
Good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So we're going to say, on through, we're going to say Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Rosh Chodesh Sameach.